Hey guys, so as you can see, we're going to be looking at vehicles today. So we'll be going over all four of these specific vehicles, as well as a few more that I can't fit into this specific shop. So stick around and we're going to get right into it. So here are the four primary vehicles we're going to be looking at today. And as you can see, they are primarily Batmobiles. I know technically that's the wrong model for Batmobile, for Battinson Batman, but I'm including him anyway because some people I think might be interested to see how it looks. So we have Keaton animated Tumbler, and then this is actually the Ramen racer. So I bought it with the intention of having it be the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, which is kind of the whole impetus of it to begin with. So from left to right, we have a retail of $74.99, $79.99, $99.99, and then the Ramen racer is around $250. I say it that way because I purchased two to save a little bit on shipping because one of them went to a friend of mine anyway, as well as the fact that I bought the various upgrade packs to make it the Ghost Rider vehicle. Of these four vehicles, the animated and the Ramen racer both have electronics in them. The Keaton and the Tumbler do not. The Keaton one includes a figure, as does the Tumbler, but the animated and Ramen Racer do not include figures, even though the Ramen Racer includes a Ghost Rider head as a bonus, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they would include that in the future if they decided to re-release it. As of right now, you can't purchase this directly from Ramen Racer. You'd have to find it on the aftermarket. Now what's interesting is that this is technically not part of the DC Multiverse line the way that the Keaton and the Tumbler are. So this is just part of the DC Direct line, which is a little bit different from the other two. This is the DC Direct Batman that I guess can go with this Batmobile. And these are 6-inch scale, not 7-inch scale, the way that the Keaton and Tumbler vehicles are. So in terms of the physical vehicles themselves, this one is still gigantic anyway and is even bigger than our Keaton Batmobile. So I'm not that worried about, you know, kind of scaling in that regard. But if it really matters to you, then that's just something that I want to point out to you. And since we're talking about scale, here is the Marvel Legends Dan Ketch Ghost Rider that just came out just a little bit ago. And so you can see just how it scales or doesn't scale depending on your interpretation of it. But I think it looks just fine. The animated Batmobile is especially huge, but that's not necessarily a problem. But I think when you compare the motorcycle of the Ghost Rider to the other three vehicles, it actually looks pretty in line with kind of what they should be scaled at. And since we're looking at motorcycles, let's move that one out of the way. Let's take a look at the Bat Pod. And as you can see, at least in terms of the Bat Pod and the Tumbler, because you know in the movie, the Tumbler wheels become the wheels of the Bat Pod.
Goodbye.
But as you can see, the wheels are definitely very, very different in terms of size compared to the actual Tumbler ones. So maybe that's not accurate, but you know, I don't think McFarlane was really gonna make the Bat Pod that gigantic with the wheels from the Tumbler, but still something that some people might want to see, so there you go. One thing I do want to note about my Keaton Batmobile is that this is modified. Ramen Toys did put out a new canopy for the top. These gas caps are also from that same kit, and they're coming out with another kit later on. So they do make one of these for this version as well as the original version. I'm not sure if those are still for sale right now, but they're not terribly expensive and they are a pretty good kit. But basically the difference is that this is a little bit more accurate because it should be a little more shrunken down the way you see it here. I'll have it side by side with the original look of it, and you can see that's like a lot bigger. So this one just looks better. So here we're doing a bit of a length comparison, and as you can see, our animated is definitely going to be the longest, not by too much compared to the Keaton, but it is definitely still the longest of the bunch. And then we see that the Ramen Racer is longer than the Tumbler, so the Tumbler is the shortest of the vehicles, and the Ramen Racer is actually only barely shorter than the Keaton. And there you can see that the fronts are lined up, and you can see that the backside, that the Keaton is just a smidge longer than the Ramen Racer is. Now, looking at the Tumbler, as I said, there's no electronics, no lights or anything, which would be nice, just because in particular, it would be nice to either have an effect to go here at the jet turbine thing, if not it being lit up. but we got neither of those from here, so that's kind of a bummer. But it does still look good. It is a nice paint job. You can see that there's a good amount of detail all in here between the actual molding and the paint as well. In terms of the actual opening of the canopy for this, I think it's really well done because the trigger to open it is right here, and I think that blends in really well with the design of the tumbler itself. And it's really just a simple open, and it's open like that. As you can see, it's on a spring mechanism in there. And again, this is designed for 7-inch figures, so let's go ahead and fit in. This is one of the recent Platinum Batmans that has a wired cape in there. So he, of course, sits in here just fine as you would expect, but not everybody has 7-inch figures. So let's do this. We'll put Batman in our passenger side, and we'll test fit our Pattinson Batman. And while he may seem small compared to our 7-inch, I don't think he looks out of place in here at all in terms of the scale. So my intention is actually to try to get a Mafex Christian Bale Batman, just because I have a lot of the other movie Mezco Batman. So I'd like to get the 6-inch Christian Bale one to kind of match with the rest of them. Otherwise, I think he will fit and look just fine in here once I do, or if I do get him. Now, comparing that to our Ramen Racer vehicle, you can see that the doors open up just fine. There's no kind of button mechanisms to open the doors. They just hold in with a press fit, and that's a really nice design right there. We also have the hood that pops open, and as you can see, we do have an engine in here, and the hood can be swapped because there's additional parts for the engine to change out its look. There's a lot of modular pieces to the vehicle, which is a really cool idea, and I think pretty well executed on this. The front bumper can be swapped out. I think even the whole front grille can be swapped out as well. The rear can also be swapped out. We also have covers for the lights. I believe this is accurate to the original vehicle that this is modeled after. But I just wanted to show that the trunk does open, and this does contain a battery for the actual lights. And the battery in here is just a rechargeable lithium battery to power everything. So there's actually 2 USB-C ports on here. One of them is on the underside right here. And I believe this is supposed to be able to power everything so that you can have it kind of hidden away. Like if you're gonna have it on your shelf with lights on. For some reason, it's not working for me. I don't know if maybe I'm using a weird cable or something, or maybe there's a defect, but it doesn't work. The other USB-C port is under the gas cap. And the actual switch to turn everything on and off is on the underside right here. So you can see the off position is in the middle, and then the left side is gonna be for lights, and then the right side is lights and sounds. The sounds don't really change a whole lot, so I don't really like it because it's just an engine revving. I wish there was more variety in that, but there isn't. But so you can see how it looks with the lights. That's how it lights up. I do have a defect right here that I didn't realize until recording, so I'm gonna need to reach out to Ramen Toys about that. Otherwise, it does look good. I do like that look. And just so you can see, this can actually come out to be swapped with another different unit to turn this into a different vehicle. But you can see in there that the dash does light up as well, and I'll turn it off so you can confirm. And of course we have headlights on in front, and that looks great. And I think this is a really well executed vehicle. This was announced shortly after the original HasLab for the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider failed, unfortunately. And I do like the Ramen Toy Company. I think they've been making some really neat stuff. So hopefully there's enough interest that they can do another run of these for those that are interested. Like I said, this is intended to be Ghost Rider or Blade or Punisher, and I think possibly even like Vin Diesel car from Fast and Furious. But some people might be interested in using him for Battinson. So let's see how he fits in there. So I'm gonna get him nice and 90 degree as much as I can. And there he is in there. I don't know how well that comes out. But he fits in there reasonably well. The problem though is that the bat ears on top kind of do touch the ceiling. I think if you angled it just a little bit more, he wouldn't be touching, but then it doesn't make sense either because then he wouldn't quite be looking forward. He'd be kind of looking like that. So kind of up to you if this is a combination that you're trying to do. And since as a 6-inch scale Mezco figure, if this is just barely fitting, I'm certainly not gonna try a 7-inch scale figure. But I think he looks awesome right next to it. So if this is something you're interested in for the Pattinson, then I think this is a great vehicle to get. So again, the animated does light up. There are no sounds with this one. And just so you can see, we have a simple switch on the bottom. It is just an on-off, and it takes 3 AA batteries. And you can see lights on the front, just those 2. And we have lights in the back, and I think that looks super cool. And we also get lights in the dash, and I think that's really nice to have too. Now, inside, we actually do have a 2-seater, unlike our Keaton Batmobile, which a lot of people did complain about. This is a 2-seater, and it actually even has seat belts, but I'm not gonna try to mess with the seat belts. But that is there if that is a thing that you're interested in. So I do have the DC Direct Batman. This is the 2nd suit that he wears in the animated series. And my preferred suit, not hating on the original suit design, but I like this one. And as you can see, he fits in there pretty darn well. I'd say though that his shoulders are a little broad, so they do cut in a little further into the passenger side than I would like. But just so you can see, that's how he looks. And I also have the Mafex Batman that is on loan to me from a good friend of mine. And I do want to fit him in there too, but I also want to show you that he actually is a decent amount taller than the DC Direct version. Even though this is still a 6-inch scale, not 7, but he still fits just fine in there, and he looks great in there. Also, I think he doesn't cut in quite as far as the DC Direct Batman does in terms of the passenger side. So that's really nice. So there you go. And in case you're wondering, we'll go ahead and try fitting in a 7-inch scale Batman, because I know that McFarlane did make a animated Batman for the DC Multiverse line. So some of you may be interested in fitting that one into here. Unfortunately though, as you can see, he doesn't really quite fit unless we're turning this into a convertible. And I think there's just not enough room for the feet to go forward, and you would need that so that you can lean him back more, because I think from head to butt, that's going to be too tall anyway to actually sit in there normally. So not really a great option for the 7-inch figures. Now, I'm not going to show any Batman fitting into this one, because I actually have 2 whole videos showing a bunch of different Batmans and how they fit or not into this vehicle. So check those out if you really want to see other Batman for this one. Otherwise, what I want to do is show you one more vehicle comparison, and it's the Turtle Van. So obviously a very different vehicle from these Batman and Batman-esque vehicle, but a lot of people like this because they've been modding it, turning it into a Punisher van and other character vans. So just so you can see, this actually blends in really well with this one in terms of the scale. You can see that the tire sizes are actually pretty close. So if you were to see this like on the road, obviously as a normal vehicle, not decked out in turtle stuff, that this would scale really well with this one over here, as well as I think these two. And if you want to see more vehicle stuff, then check out my video over here.